Quick question for you all. Where do you watch your favorite cartoons, shows, movies, or any kind of media as a matter of fact? I asked this question roughly 6 months ago, and the results of that poll were quite interesting. In a sample size of nearly 2,000 people, and assuming you guys were answering honestly, roughly 68% of you watch your favorite media through official sources, like TV, streaming services, official social media accounts of media companies, and other official means. However, the remaining 32% of you watch your favorite media through piracy sites. Now granted, a good majority of you who do pirate are largely doing it because the official means of watching the show or movie is not available. But still, 9% of you are using pirating sites to watch your favorite shows and movies despite having access to official sources. So why do I bring this up? Well, in my previous video about the Ghost and Molly McGee, I mentioned how the show has not been greenlit for season 3, at least not yet. And the only way to really convince Disney to give the show a renewal is to watch the show. The fate of the show will get its own video later on. However, I forgot to mention that it's important to watch it through sources that Disney actually cares about, which are Disney+, cable TV, or Disney Channel's YouTube page, where they post clips and even full episodes of the show itself. Some people think that's a given, but like what I just showed earlier, there are many people out there who are just not willing to do that, either for convenience reasons and or because they don't like to give money to multi-billion-dollar corporations. That may sound reasonable at first, but if it comes at the cost of putting your favorite shows, movies, and other content at risk, is it actually reasonable? Is piracy of cartoons, or anything really, ever justified? I know this video is rather different compared to my usual videos where I just pointlessly ramble about my opinions on cartoons, but this is an issue that I think we should all take into account, especially since, like most of the answers I give to most questions in these videos, the answer is not so cut and dry. So to answer this question at its face value, yes, there are instances where piracy of certain media is actually justified. In fact, there are a few examples where it is undeniably ethical. For example, there are some video games and certain shows that are no longer produced, distributed, and supported by the original creators. In that scenario, it makes 100% sense to pirate that kind of content, not just for convenience reasons, but also as a way to preserve the original content so that others in the future can see it long past the creators stop supporting it. Then there's the scenario where we choose to pirate content that is either guaranteed to be very popular on official platforms anyway, like Marvel or Star Wars, or content that is so bad that it doesn't deserve to be watched through official means, like Thelma for example. This scenario is a bit less justified, especially if the content itself is actually good, because consuming the content through official means is still technically the best way to support the people who made it, and odds are, most people in the production process are not earning six-figure salaries. However, if a show or movie is immensely popular already, then a small fraction of people choosing to pirate it is not really going to affect it or people involved with the production regardless. Then there's the exact opposite end of the spectrum where pirating content is definitely wrong. The one scenario that falls into this category is trying to consume and distribute media that is from a small creator with very limited resources without giving compensation to them. So if any of you were to repost this video in its exact form without my permission and you profited from it, then yeah, that form of piracy is wrong and YouTube has systems put in place that prevents that, at least to some extent when it works. This also goes along with any creation made by most individuals who create anything unique from digital artists to voice actors, writers, and so on. And any efforts to replicate their work is also wrong. But I'm getting ahead of myself there. So far, I hope all the points I brought up are mostly agreeable among most of you watching. But then there's the scenario that falls into a bit of a gray area, like consuming pirated content of shows, movies, and such that are not popular in the mainstream, but are only supported through a big corporation like Disney. Shows like the Ghost and Molly McGee are prime examples of this, and this is the kind of piracy I want to focus on for the rest of the video. That is a show that is available to watch on Disney's platforms like Disney+, and the production team gets their resources from the company. So with that in mind, why does it matter if people watch the show on Disney Plus or through unofficial means? The crew behind the show will still get compensated, right? Well, not exactly. The unfortunate truth is that Disney will only support an IP if it gets the revenue they expect from it. If a show like Molly McGee is not meeting the company standards for viewership on their platforms, then it will get axed. Considering the current state of the show and its production, it definitely seems like that is what's happening right now. So with this in mind, consuming the show through pirating sites is technically harming the show. Side note, Unfortunately, promotion on social media does not automatically count as support for the show, movie, or whatever IP you like. If your constant promotion does lead to some people consuming it through official means, then it does equal support in an indirect way, but the act of hyping up something alone is not enough. That's why shows like The Owl House or Infinity Train still got axed prematurely, despite trending on Twitter whenever they get a new episode. And yes, I'm still calling it that. F you, Elon. Anyways, this is basically a question of what you prioritize. If you really care about the show you like and support it in the best way possible, the ironic thing is, in order to do that, you have to technically support the companies that could destroy it as well. So in a scenario like this, would I pirate a show like Molly McGee at the cost of not supporting the show at all? Or do I watch the show on Disney Plus and convince others to do the same, even if it means giving more money to a multi-billion-dollar business? The choice is really up to you, and you guys can let me know what your choice is in the comments below, but what would I do in this situation? Well, as much as I don't like to give money to Disney, especially considering what the company is doing right now to workers and consumers, their subscription service still provides enough value to me that helps me justify continue paying for it, and it does give shows like the Ghost and Molly McGee a better chance to be renewed. So just to be clear, I am just referring to this scenario regarding this show. The moment when Disney basically confirms that shows like Molly McGee, Hailey's on It, or Moon Girl are finished for good, that is when I would personally stop paying for their service. Also, if my family decides to stop using the service entirely, then yeah, I would definitely stop paying for it. But at the moment, Disney's content is satisfying enough for me to continue consuming and supporting it. Now, it is true that Disney's content over the past couple years has gone down quite a bit compared to its competitors, particularly when it comes to movie content. But when it comes to their animated shows, even after my favorite cartoon has ended, Disney still continues to bring out the best cartoons that are still airing, in my opinion. I mean, Nick only has SpongeBob and The Loud House, which are both rather mid nowadays. Meanwhile, Cartoon Network is basically dead, and any surviving shows from that platform have migrated to Adult Swim and Max. So at the moment, even with all of its flaws, Disney still provides barely enough value for me to continue paying for their service, especially if it means giving a better chance that shows like Molly McGee will get renewed. However, when I say barely enough value, I really do mean barely. Because of course, I do have lots of problems with the company, like how they are treating their workers, for example, in the midst of the writers and actors strike, but I'll save that for another day. With all that being said, write down what you guys think about the ethics of pirating content and what would you do regarding the situation with Molly McGee in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. Also, thanks again to Step13 and MP Command Nerd for supporting this channel directly, and thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all have a great day. See you in the next one.